There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Bible reading. I am Khalil, as always, and today we're going to be continuing our reading with Exodus 14. Last time yesterday, we read about Moses, whom the Lord called to deliver his people Israel out of the land of Egypt. And we got to see the Lord's wonders that he said he would do upon Egypt, the land of Egypt, and upon Pharaoh, in order to show himself to the people of Egypt as well as to the people of Israel, that show that he was God. So we saw those plagues, what sometimes people refer to as the 10 plagues of Egypt. And we saw the last plague, which concluded with all of the firstborns of the land of Egypt being killed, except those who had the blood of the lamb, which and gold representing Jesus, was put on their doorpost, which was called the Passover, which is where we get the Feast of Passover, and right afterwards the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It was all given that ordinance in Exodus 12. But we'll be continuing from where the Israelites left Egypt, and they started what is called, like the book is named, the Exodus. But before we really get into any of that, today, because it's February the 12th, we'll be starting with our daily Proverbs, which would be Proverbs 12. But first, as a note, if you have any questions regarding anything that we are reading, or just anything at all, like biblically, or regarding the Bible at all, yeah, you can post them in the live chat that we have, and Lord willing, we'll get to them at the end. But with that being said, we can go ahead and get started with Proverbs 12. So, yeah, Proverbs 12 and verse 1. Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man attaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoureth himself and lacketh bread. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hand shall be rendered unto him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it soup, but the good word maketh it glad. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. So here we have Proverbs 12. It continues sort of the same message we see throughout a lot of the Proverbs that we've read so far. Just largely the difference between the righteous and the wicked, both in behavior and in end. So we have like 28, the last scripture being a good example of the latter end, right? The way of righteousness is life, and the pathway thereof there is no death. If you are doing righteousness of the Lord, if you're following God, if you're keeping His word, then you're by doing those things, you're following righteousness, right? Then life is promised to you. You may face hardships, things of the sort, you see, like Christ talk a lot about even in the New Testament, right? People, those who do not bear up their cross and come after me are not worthy of me, right? Like it's going to be a struggle, even a struggle for Christ, and like He literally had to be beaten and crucified, right? But at the end of it is life. The same with Christ. He raised, right? He raised and He got His new body with the Lord. He was made as God. He raised, right? As like 1 Corinthians 15 puts it, the immortal will put on immortality, which is what happened with Him. But to a point, so he got life, and there was no death, because with His life, like 1 Corinthians 15 says, He was made immortal, and we will be made the same way. We will be raised like unto Jesus. It's like Paul even talks about in Corinthians again, if we're to walk the same way He did. So they're Proverbs is showing again that same sort of end in that verse and the other ones as well. But even the difference between wicked and righteousness, and I think one of the good examples of that's mentioned multiple times in this chapter is verse 3. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. Again, to the same point, righteousness establishes you, it is life to you. While if you're following wickedness, you're destined to fall. Eventually, whatever it is, whether it's something like we see what happened with Pharaoh, whether it's plagues or pestilence and so on and so forth that gets you, whether it's something else, whether it's just the death of this life or whatever it may be, there will be there's an expected end, and it's not a good one. While with righteousness, you will not be moved, because with the Lord there isn't an expected end, one of life, one of good. Yeah, even again, this chapter also spent a lot of time talking about deceit and honesty, and even how that is the righteous are honest, but the wicked are continually deceitful. That's even in verse 20. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. Again, talking that behavior where righteousness and wickedness don't act the same way as the New Testament even talks about what dwelling does light have with darkness? There is no dwelling. But all that being said, yeah, that's Proverbs 12. It's a pretty good chapter. And there's a lot of wisdom you can get from it, as well as from all the Proverbs. I mean, all the Bible as a whole. But still, with that, yeah, we can go ahead and move on to our reading for today. So we can go ahead and go to Exodus 14. And I'll go ahead and get started at verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-zephon, before it shall ye encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say to the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land, the wilderness hath shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord, and they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? So, again, the last plague of Egypt were all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, people who had partook in the Passover. They did put the blood upon their doorposts. All of their firstborns died. And when that happened, Pharaoh got really upset, and he kicked the people of Israel and said, like, just get out of here. Like, I don't want you here anymore. And then even when all the people of Egypt sent them out and even just gave them, like, gold and silver, just trying to get them out of the land because, like, everyone's kids just died, right? So they're trying to get all of them, Moses, Aaron, all the people of Israel just out of Dodge. So now the Lord, as we kind of seen in the past chapters, like, the Lord has a hold, and like the Lord says, like, I hold the heart of all kings. But he has control over Pharaoh, and he hardens his heart again, even after they've left. So now where they're like, oh, why we send them off? We gotta go get our slaves back. So now he's reversed it to where now they are angry again, instead of like having learned their lesson with all the death that happened with the last plague. The Lord's hardened their hearts to where now they're trying to go and get the people of Israel back. Verse 6. And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him, and took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal-zephon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. So now that the Egyptians have come up against them, Israel has lost their faith. They're like, hey, like, why'd you take us up out of here? If we're just going to die, like, at the seaside, because there's the sea in front of them. So this is, again, not the greatest map. Right here, this is what I'm pointing at. This is Egypt. And then this is the Red Sea. So they're, like, about here, between the Red Sea and like obviously Egypt's right here. So there behind them are just all the Egyptians trying to kill them or bring them back to Egypt. And in front of them is a literal seafront. So they're like, well, shoot, we're stuck. Like, why'd you bring us here if we're just gonna die out here, getting killed by the Egyptians? We should have just stayed slaves. Verse 13. And Moses said to the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said to Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow him. And I'll give me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, and upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of God which went before the camp of Israel removed, and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face, and stood behind them. This is even to the point where in the New Testament it talks about the angel that led before him. So they have this pillar, which is like clouds by day, fire by night, that's leading them, but it's like an angel of the Lord doing this, right? So now, between the Egyptians and the Israelites, this cloud, being like the angel, has moved between them. So now the Egyptians can't just follow the Israelites right now. 20. It came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and there was a cloud and darkness to them, but gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. And the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. So he split the Red Sea in two, so that Israel could walk across it. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued, and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch The Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily. So that the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fight for them against the Egyptians. So now at this point, they've gone through the parted Red Sea, Israel, and the Egyptians try to follow them. But while they're in the split sea, like they're on the dry ground, the Lord has broken up their chariots. So now they can't just move as fast. They can't move through and get to the other side. So they're just in between these two walls of water right now. 26. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared. And the Egyptians fled against it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea, so the waters just fell back onto them, killing them. 28. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians. And the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. So that they've gone across onto the other side. All the Egyptians have been killed by the waters. The Red Sea has collapsed back onto them. And now Israel is, at this point, they're fully free from the reigns of the from the Egyptians. The Egyptians are no longer have any rule over them, like even in what is said in verse 13. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. So at this point, Israel has been completely freed from the Egyptians. And the splitting of the Red Sea is a very prominent thing, especially even in the New Testament, where even Paul talks about how Moses and Israel were baptized in the Red Sea, and that they were brought unto the Lord. The Lord brought them through the Red Sea and brought them into the wilderness, where we'll see the Lord taught Israel his ways, like the same way we've been reading in Proverbs all this time. Like, follow the wisdom of the Lord, follow the ways of the Lord, his law is light. This is where the Lord taught them his laws and taught them his commands and so on and so forth. So, in that same way, this is spiritually them being brought to the Lord. They passed through the Red Sea. The Lord has brought them from being captives to the Egyptians. The same way we are brought from being captives from sin when we are baptized to the Lord, right? They were brought from the Egyptians, passed through the water, and they were brought to the Lord. So even like the Red Sea had a lot of physical significance in the fact that Israel was just brought out of slavery. And it was just a great feat that the Lord did before him that he refers to a lot as, hey, I'm the God that did this for you. Like, remember who I am. I'm of great importance, as well as like spiritual meaning for like what the purpose of, not only the purpose at the time to bring Israel to be his chosen people and to teach them his laws, but also even us to represent how us as individuals operate with the Lord. We are once in bondage under sin, but we are baptized through his Son, Jesus Christ, and we come unto him, and we come unto the Lord, and keep his laws and keep his commands, as we see happen to the children of Israel. But with that, it is Exodus 14, it's the splitting of the Red Sea. It's a beautiful chapter. Yeah. With that being said, I think we can go ahead and move on to Exodus 15. So, without further ado, Exodus 15 and verse 1. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I'll sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he is become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him, and I will prepare him an habitation. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his hosts hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Lord, has become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, hath dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of thine excellency thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sendest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of thy nostrils the waters were gathered together. The flood stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil, my lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind. The sea covered them. They sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Thou stretchest out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength into thy holy habitations. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling shall take hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of thine arm, they shall be as still as a stone, till thy people pass over, O Lord. Till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots, and with his horsemen into the sea. And the Lord brought again the waters of the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord. And the Lord showed him a tree, which, when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them, and said, If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee. And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. All right, Exodus 15. Yeah, they freshly, again, like they've just gone out of the Red Sea. They sing praises to the Lord, like the Lord has greatly delivered us. He's done it. Again, like they talk about a lot in the Old Testament, again, the New Testament. This is the great thing that the Lord has done for Israel. Even then, like the Lord refers to a greater thing I will do in the future, even for us now, of returning all of his people Israel to the land, because Israel was cast to the four corners of the earth, as it is put, by both the Babylonians as well as the Assyrians when they took over the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. But still to the point, the splitting of the Red Sea and bringing Israel through it and killing the Egyptians was a great feat that the Lord always refers to. Again, great importance that I am the God that delivered the children of Israel. I am the one who did this great thing. And that's basically what they're singing about all throughout this chapter. So much so that they even talk about, like, 11, Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? And there are no other gods besides God. And this is even something he says where you guys worship gods that are not yet gods. We're to the point where, like we know, besides the Lord God, besides God the Father and God the Son, there is no God. And even though they're one and they're one accord, as you even can read and see in the New Testament. But to the point, there are no other gods. But even what they're referring to here is like the fact, like there are gods, there are idols There are the gods of Egypt. There are the gods of the Moabites, of Edom, of Palestina, or just like Palestine, so on and so forth. But they are gods, but they're not yet gods, because we know they're fake, as Paul even puts it, but still to the point. So he's like, well, whose gods has done such a great thing as the God of Israel, right? Who has done something like this, right? Because if the gods were real, they could do something against this. Well, why didn't the gods of Egypt do something against what the God of Israel has done here? But that's like to their point. No, none of those idols, none of those gods that they have could do this thing. When he said, and that's why these nations will fear you. Like he says, 14. Even talking about bringing them to a holy habitation. I'll read the end of 13 to 14. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation. That's referring to the land of promise, what we've seen all in Genesis. The land that the Lord even promised Israel, saying, you guys will be brought back to the land of Canaan. Again, which is like right over here. And that's why he says, right after that, because the Lord's bringing them back to this land now, and it's fulfilling what he told to Jacob, renamed Israel. The people shall hear and be afraid. Who? The people of this land. Because the Lord is bringing them to this land to give it to them. So the people will fear. And shall take hold of the inhabitants of Palestina, the people right here, who are part of that land. The dukes of Edom, also part of the land. The Midian and Moab, also over there. And all the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Saying to the point where they are going, and we see that ends up, like that is the case. But these people they're praising in their songs that they will fear because of the greatness that the Lord has done here. Where they're going to be like, hey, the God that killed the Egyptians and did all these things is coming to our land to take our land and give it to these people. So great fear will they have. Which ends up being the case as we will see as we just continue to read. But then even after all of that praise, and that recognition of the greatness that the Lord has done, we see even at the end, and this becomes like a continual thing for Israel, whenever they start running out of water. At Marah, in 23, it talks about how they murmured against Moses, saying hey, what shall we drink? And murmur like they're talking against him. What are we supposed to drink? We're out of water. What are we supposed to do? The water we have here is bitter, so on and so forth. And the Lord does deliver them. He gives, Moses gets a tree that makes the water sweet, so they're able to drink it. But to the point, and we'll see this continually, the children of Israel, they continually lose faith in the Lord. Where something will happen, and they'll lose faith, and the Lord will save them, and they'll be like, oh, all praise be to the Lord. But as soon as that situation's over with, they will then again doubt the Lord whenever another issue arises. And that's even something for us that we can see in real life and we can learn from, because that's even a pattern that sometimes we can find ourselves falling in whenever something bad happens in our lives, where it can be easy for us to forget the Lord, or forget that the Lord is in control of all things, whether it is a good thing that's happened or a bad thing that's happened. And to me, reading these things, reading how the children of Israel behaved this way, is a really good reminder for us not to behave this way. Because the book says, and we see in Hebrews 11 being a good example, all the people we have here in the Bible are meant to be examples, or as they sometimes says, ensamples to us. Whether good examples or bad examples, examples of what we should do, or here with Israel murmuring, examples of what we should not do. But still to the point, yeah, that's Exodus 15. Again, a lot to learn from that. But with that being said, I think we can now go to Exodus 16. Yeah. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pick it up at Exodus 16. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For he had brought us forth into this wilderness, to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord to Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. And it shall come to pass on the 6th day, they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So here, again, we have already, immediately afterwards, we have people, the children of Israel, complaining again, we're supposed to die, it will be better if we died in Egypt. Why don't God just leave us there, die, if he's going to bring us to this wilderness? And the wilderness is just, a place where no one dwells. So even here you'll see, they say they're in the wilderness of sin, which is between, Elim and Sinai, sin for, Sinai. And then even in the chapter before, they refer to the wilderness of Shur, where it's just of Shur, they're in the outskirts. So think of the wilderness as that. It is the outskirts. The wilderness is a stretch of the wilderness that they travel in. It's a stretch of land all the way from this little point right next to the land of Egypt, all around into bits of what is modern day Jordan. So it's not just one location. They were just walking around. But still to the point, they're already complaining. And the Lord's all right, I'll give you a solution. I'll rain down some bread for heaven for you. You'll collect it every day. And on the 6th day, you'll collect 2 portions. And again, this is even for going all the way back to Genesis 2. This is because of the Sabbath. And we'll be able to see this in Exodus 20 as well, where they kept the Sabbath. And on the Sabbath, you can't work, which is why they call the 6th day the day of preparation. So instead of gathering on the 7th day, you would gather 2 portions on the 6th day. That way you would have enough for the 6th day and for the 7th day. But here he's just giving that ordinance to them, again, trying to satiate their qualms, their murmurings. Right? Verse 6. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, At even, then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that ye murmur against us? And Moses said, This shall be, when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. Oh, what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. Where he's you guys don't even understand. You guys are trying to come up against us, but really, at the end of the day, you're coming up against the Lord. Where it's in the same ways, you can think about in Acts with Ananias and Sapphira, where Peter says the same thing to them. You think you've lied to me, but you lied to God. It's the same thing. Where the Lord sees everything that we do. And at the end of the day, while we think we may be able to get by in how we act or we behave, even just behave towards man, whether we lie to a person or steal against them or so on and so forth, the Lord is seeing all of it. And the same way as the Lord says in the New Testament, where he's well, Lord, when in the parable, where he says, Lord, when have we lended to the poor? Or when have we lended to you? Or when have we fed you when you were hungry, or warmed you when you were cold? And on the other end, it's well, Lord, when have we not done those things? It's well, you have done those things, or haven't done those things when you did it or didn't do it to the least in the world, or you did it to those who needed it, or just to anyone. To the point that when we give to others, or we don't, or mistreat others, we're really doing it to the Lord too. The Lord is personally offended, as though you're doing it to him too. But still to the point, he's and it's a good reminder for us too. He's hey, you guys don't, even more so for Moses, because he's directly appointed to be their intercessor and to speak to them for the Lord and to speak to them from the Lord. Right? But he's you guys don't even understand. You think you're coming up and murmuring against me, but really you're speaking on against the Lord, because he's the one delivering you and doing these things for you and so on and so forth. But still to the point, verse 9, And Moses spake unto Aaron, saying to all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness. But behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard of the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass that even the quails came up, and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded you. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer of every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in the tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. So now the Lord has given them both quail and manna for them to eat. And every man just has to go and gather it for himself. 18. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning. And they bred worms and stank, and Moses was wroth with them. Which again, even here we already have an example again of the children of Israel just not listening. 21. And they gathered it every morning, and every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread. 6th day, right before the Sabbath, the 7th day. So it was a day of preparation, so they had to gather twice as much. And they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said to them, This is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seed that ye will seed. And that which ye remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning. So the Sabbath is, we'll see it again when we get to Exodus 20, it's a day of rest. And we even see that all the way back in Genesis 2, when the Lord rested and sanctified the day, all the way in the beginning. But to the point, the Sabbath is a day of rest, so they couldn't work. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't do this stuff. So the Lord is telling them, hey, on the 6th day, before the Sabbath, whatever you need to bake, go ahead and bake it. Whatever you need to seed, which is boil, do that. Because you can't do it tomorrow. 24. And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. As the Lord already told them, you shouldn't be out here gathering or trying to look for something on the 7th day anyway. You're supposed to prepare the day before. This is a day of rest. You're not supposed to be doing anything, right? 28. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So it's no, this is not how it's supposed to be. I've set everything up to make it easy for you. I've already given you double portion on the 6th day. All you got to do is collect it. I've given you the Sabbath day. He even says, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my law? Exodus 20, what people call the 10 Commandments, is the 4th commandment. Is one of his commands that you have to follow. 30. So the people rested on the 7th day, and the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, This is the thing which the Lord commanded, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. Oh, Xavier. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord, to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land uninhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is a 10th part of an ephah. Right. So even had them collect a bit of it to be. And we'll see they eventually put it in what's called the Ark of the Covenant. And it basically be with the Ark of the Covenant, which also held the the 10 Commandments themselves when Moses eventually got them. And the manna was put in there just like perpetually. That's where it was supposed to stay. So they even kept it as like a sign of like the things that the Lord had done. But yeah. There, we had Exodus 16. We'll see a lot more of it, a lot more. But I think even Exodus 16 is a really good introduction. Like I said, a bit about on 15. Just like the revolving pattern that we see with Israel, that God will give to them, and then people will say Israel's a microcosm of the whole world, which is true. Israel is God's chosen people, but not the only people, especially as we see in the New Testament, or even what we read before about things like circumcision, as well as the Passover, where the Lord said, a stranger that will join himself must do these things. And so they have to do it right. A stranger also has to be circumcised to eat of the Passover. He also has to be right, he has to be keeping of the law, so on and so forth. But also to the point, that there was never a point in which the Lord was only Israel, the Lord didn't want anyone else. And you can see that in the New Testament, that Israel was meant to go and preach to the rest of the world. That's why you have what's called the Great Commission at the end of Matthew, where it's go ye therefore teach all nations whatsoever I've commanded you. For I am with you until the end of the world, so on and so forth. We still to the point that the Lord was always going to these other nations. The Lord always wanted to save all people, and again you can see that in Revelation, where the Lord's I can't referring to, was it Revelation 6, I think, Revelation 5, maybe a little bit earlier, where John says he saw people from all, an innumerable amount of people from all nations, from all tongues, adorned in white robes. And these were the people who were called to God. And all nations, that includes literally every other nation that's not Israel, right? So also to the point that the Lord always wanted other people as well, but Israel was just the first in order to preach to the rest of the world. But still the point, Israel being a good microcosm for the rest of the world, just continually wicked. That's the best way to put it. Where continually murmur against God despite Him saving us multiple times. Continually being disobedient. Just being all-round jerks. Awful. Yeah. Unappreciative children. Or even as, the Lord, puts in, a parable, or in other places, a cheap wife. Almost.
Yeah.
Where it's just going around, just cheating on you, sleeping with everyone. It's just, an awful experience. But, that's all I got to say about 16.
Pick it up at 17?
Yeah, sure. Well,
Chapter 17 and verse 1. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin, after their journeys, according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses, and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moses, and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go on before the people, and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod, wherewith thou smotest the river. Take in thine hand, and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so on the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is this the Lord among us or not? Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, Choose us out men, and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy. And they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side, and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar, and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. For he said, Because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
Yeah. Good reading.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing. Israel just being Israel, complaining about not having water. This is the second time now. And yeah. And even like Amalek. Like 7. He called the name of the place Massah Meribah because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? Which after everything that happened, even the last time he didn't have water, that's like a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
But it just shows like that doubt, that lack of faith. Which is, people say like it's easy to have faith during the easy times. Yeah, during the good times it's easy to have faith. But when stuff gets bad, that's really even like you brought up last time, the trying of your faith worketh patience. Like your faith isn't being tried when it's easy.
Yeah.
It's not. There's nothing being tried, right? It's even like a saying the saying that the world uses a lot, right? Was it forged by fire?
Mm-hmm.
Where you get stronger through hard times. By hard times you're made stronger. And the same is said of your faith. But even with Israel, we see that with pretty much every hard time that comes, that faith is just not there.
Yeah.
It just falls and fails.
And we kind of read these the past few days, but I just want to reiterate on it, 1 Corinthians 10, where it talks about these are examples, and he's literally talking about this time period with Moses, and how the children of Israel constantly disobeyed after God had constantly proved himself. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Not that he has to, but he did. Things like splitting the Red Sea for them, and even stuff like literally smiting a rock and you got great water coming out. You know what I mean? But these are examples. We can't be like this. We just can't. What is it? 1 Corinthians 15, where it talks about, be unmovable. Like nothing that happens in this world should shake our faith or our and our integrity as servants of God and keeping the law. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what's going on, like this is our example. We cannot be like them. Fast forward a little bit, we'll read it eventually, but all these people pretty much die. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And then I always liked that story too. I always felt like it was just different, but how they started to fight with Amalek, and Aaron and Hur literally hold up his arms like this. That's what it says in verse 12. In verse 11 and 12, every time when he held up the rod, they would win. Israel would win. When he put down his hands, Israel would lose, and Amalek would win. So they were literally holding up his hands, like, you know what I mean? I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I always think it's interesting because, like, two things, like, even, like, it shows, like, the power that the Lord really put in, like, Moses' hands. That, like, he just has that ability. But even, too, like, that, like, hey, like, I get it. Like, that's difficult. Like, at this point, Moses is, 80-something? Mm-hmm. He was 80 when he first came back to talk to Pharaoh. So at this point, like, if he's not, like, 80, he's 80-something.
Right.
So even still to the point, like, I mean, at 20, I can't imagine holding my arms up for, like, longer than, like, an hour. And then who knows how long he had to do it. He's 80. It's like, yeah, that struggle for him. Like, yeah, they needed to do that for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, shoot, without being 80, it's kind of like wall sits. Like, you could do wall sits for like a good 45 seconds, then it start burning.
Yeah, it starts hurting,
you know
yes.
what I mean? So,
yeah.
I just thought that was kind of interesting. But I like how you brought up the power. Like, God pretty much gave to Moses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But... that's pretty much all I have to say on it, though.
Yeah, me too. All right, cool. Then we go to chapter 18. All right. Exodus 18 and verse 1. When Jethro the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom. For he said, I have been an alien in a strange land. And the name of the other was Eleazar. For the God of my father, said he, was mine help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses into the wilderness, where he encamped at the mount of God. He said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife, and her 2 sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed them. And they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who had delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who had delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. And Aaron came, and all the elders of Israel, to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from the morning unto the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto evening? And Moses said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another. And I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, The thing that thou doest, It is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee. For this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Hearken now unto my voice, I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So it shall be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. And thou shalt do this thing, and God commanded thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure. And all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land.
Good reading, bro.
Thank you. All right.
I like this chapter because it's Jethro, his father-in-law, is really just giving him game. Like Jethro was called the priest of Midian, so it's like he already had, like, we don't know what his level was or anything like that, but obviously he already had a little game on how to do stuff like this. You know what I mean? And he gave him like good protocol, really just established order. Like, you can't do this forever. And really, like, that's kind of not how it works anyway. We're supposed to be setting up people to be able to handle situations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it can't always just be Moses. It can't always just be you. It can't always just be me. Like, we should be encouraged, like how we read yesterday in the Proverbs. He that watereth, he himself shall be watered as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, Jethro was like, this is what you should do. In verse 19 and 20, he says, hearken now unto my voice, and I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And it says, and thou shalt teach them the ordinances and the laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. So he's like, teach them, like, so that they themselves can judge matters as well. And I feel like that's good game to, like, that we should be doing to the people around, teaching them, guiding them. That way they can judge matters themselves as well. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, it's like even the New Testament talks about with Paul, where he says like find you elders, like the older brethren to teach the younger brethren, the older sisters to teach the younger sisters. Where like yeah, it definitely should, like, and that is even the same sort of thing that ends up happening with, I guess, a little bit of spoilers, but like it's not spoilers, it's the Bible. But what happens with Moses and Joshua? Moses, like Joshua follows Moses. Like we already saw him a bit the last chapter.
Yeah.
But Joshua follows Moses, learns from Moses. Moses teaches Joshua, and then once Moses dies, Joshua becomes the next leader of the people, and it continues down that way. So absolutely. I mean, that is like kind of the point, right? Where, it's a saying out in the world. People say it all the time. Each one teach one.
Yeah.
Something of that sort. Where, like, even what Paul says, like, a servant of the Lord must be apt to teach. Where it's just all of those things compounded together. Where not what they say, knowledge isn't meant to be withheld, knowledge is meant to be shared. That type of thing. Where we're always meant to be iron sharpen iron, brother sharpen brother, so on and so forth. That's another scripture. But also to the point that everyone should be doing their best to uplift one another and give wisdom to one another. Whether it's like an elder brother to a younger brother, elder sister, younger sister, or the age is just irrelevant in general, right? Everyone should be trying to do that for everyone, right? But that's, especially with like an example of what you're seeing here with Jethro and Moses. Even Jethro, like you kind of said, like with it being like the priest of Midian thing, it just seems like it's like a life experience thing. Yeah. Where he says like, hey, this thing you do is not good, like the people waste away. Where he's like, well, you are the guy in charge, but if you're micromanaging everything, you're not going to be able to do anything. Because you're always going to be dealing with the smallest issue.
Yeah. And that's really a testimony to who Moses is. You know, it says he's the meekest man on earth. Like, and I feel like this really shows that, because you could very well be like, nah, like this is my job. You know what I mean?
Like God chose me.
God chose me, all that type of attitude. But it's like, he was like, nah, you, like first off, he heard what his father-in-law said, and he listened, and he implemented that. But to that point, like just for us in our lives, like verse 21, this is still Jethro talking to Moses, and he's talking about who Moses should pick. It's not just anyone, right? It says in verse 21, moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and then place them. I say that to say, like, you want to be chosen. It's kind of like it's prerequisites to it. You know what I mean? And that's what life, like even chosen by God, things of that nature, like it's you know, and the New Testament is say he that can be trusted, the little can be trusted with much. Yeah. Like the little things is going to get you to the big things if you can't do the little things right. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was pretty dope. Like he's not just picking anybody, he's picking people that are doing right. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about 18.
Likewise.
Very cool. You ready for 19?
Yeah. Chapter 19, verse 1. It's my turn? Mm-hmm. In the third month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai, for they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mountain. And Moses went up to God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, you have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned, or shot through. Whether it be a beast or a man, it shall not live. When the trumpet sounded long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day, come not at your wise. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long, and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And the Lord called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord, sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them. And Moses said unto the Lord, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, Set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And the Lord said unto him, Away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priest and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them. So Moses went down unto the people and spake unto them. In that chapter.
Good reading.
Thank you. This is a good chapter. This is kind of where, one thing about God is, like, oftentimes we like to think about God as, like, it's just everything is without, it's all 100% on him and 0% on us, you know? And as you begin to read the Bible and read it consistently, you start to see that word if, you know what I mean? And that's a big word, because it's, how does that statement go? In that song where it talks about love and we change the lyrics, it's conditional, right? Yeah, like, it's conditional. Everything about God is condition based. Like, don't get it twisted. He came down and he died for us. And only God gives us a law that we go off of. But the point being, like, even here, he was like, in verse, first off, he started off by reiterating, like, who he is. He said, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptian, and how I bare you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Like, I saved you out of captivity, with the plan to be a great nation. But he says, and then he says, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. So, but the key is that if, like, we have great rewards if you do this. And he says, you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. So this is what God offered to Israel. But it came with the condition that you obey his voice indeed. Like, you keep his law and keep his commandments and things of that nature. So that's what I like about this chapter, really, and that's how he is. Like, no matter what you like, anything he's giving you is, hey, you need to be keeping my law though, or you need to be listening to my words, things of that nature. You feel me? So.
Yeah. I mean, it's even like something, I don't remember when we brought this up, whether it was yesterday or the day before. But it's even like what the New Testament talks about, just because judgment is not executed speedily. Like, people think that like the Lord is not so, or is not real, or that God does not exist, or even that punishment will not come. It sometimes says in other places. But it is to bring that up to the point that the if is true. Right? And we even see this example, like, the if being true later on, because they already mentioned that Israel would be in, like he said, we talked about the manna, there's a small moment where they brought, and they ate manna, like, the entire time they were in the wilderness for 40 years, where they haven't gotten to that point. This is written all after the fact, right? But they haven't gotten to the point. The children of Israel were forced to spend 40 years in the wilderness because they would not because they kept murmuring and they would not obey God. Really the whole thing was that they were fearful and they lacked faith.
Mm-hmm.
And for a crucial moment when they were about to go up into the land, they sent spies out. Spies came back, told them about the land. They were afraid, like, oh, we can't go up there. Hey, we need to go back to Egypt. Like, we can't do this. And the Lord was just sick of it, like, because you had kept having examples like we saw in the last chapter and chapter before, where Israel kept murmuring and not having faith and not trusting in God and not believing in Him and not obeying Him and so on and so forth, that He was just like, nah, we're going to stay in the wilderness for the next 40 years until this entire generation of people dies out. And then your kids, they will be the ones that I will take into the land of Israel. But this generation here, this one that won't listen to me, I'm going to wait 40 years for all of you guys to die out, because I can't deal with your stuff. So like this if very much was real but was true, because all of the Lord's ifs are. There's no point in saying if it isn't.
Yeah.
Right? What do they call it? Like an empty promise or empty threat.
You know, they say there's no blessing without a curse. Like,
right.
This is the blessing, but there's a curse that comes with it if you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah. I got anything else to say about 19? 20?
Yeah.
Alright. Exodus 20 and verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off. And Moses drew near into the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. All right.
Go read more.
Thank you. Exodus 20.
This we have the 10 Commandments. You know, I wanna read something, not to just get us off track or nothing, but Matthew 22, and I really don't have to read it, but Matthew 22 and verse, I don't know, but it's gonna make sense in a second, because right here, you know, we got the introduction to the Ten Commandments, right? And this is coming right after he says, "I will make you a peculiar people and a kingdom of priests if you do what I say." And right after that, we see this is part of what he's saying. Like, we got the Ten Commandments, right? But I just want to read some. Exodus 22 and 36. It says, "Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And Jesus said unto him, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophet." And I really brought this up. Like, I feel like it's a good time because we're in the Ten Commandments now. But he said, you know, oftentimes we think, or a lot of people, the world kind of teaches us that the law, the Ten Commandments is done away with. All we got to do is love God and love our neighbor, right? But what does that even mean? Like, when you say love God or love your neighbor, that's a very vague statement. That's not how even we as humans operate in real life. Like, if I say I love you, it's stuff that is attached to that we do for each other because we love one another, right? And so, but he says, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So I just really want to, and to take it back to Exodus 20, God is giving us that. Like, how do you love your neighbor? Verse 13, thou shalt not kill. Like, I'm not going to kill you. I love you. I won't kill you. Verse 14, thou shalt not commit adultery. I love you. I'm not going to sleep with your wife. Like, this is really the how do you love your neighbor. You know what I mean? It's not like he did away or the commandments are gone. Like, no, this is instruction on how. Like, don't bear false witness. You know, in verse 12, the first commandment that he gives revolving around our neighbors is our parents. Those are the first people we meet in this world. And he's telling you how to treat them. You honor them. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land. But the point is, he's giving you instructions on how to love your neighbors. And then at the beginning, he says, thou shalt not have no other gods before me. This is how you love God. Don't put nobody else before him, whether it be a man, another God, your phones. Don't put nothing above him. Don't make any graven image. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. These are how you show your love to God. You know, even with the Sabbath, it's like God rested. You're his son. You do what he does. He rested, you rest. And God is God. He don't even need to rest, but he did it for us because he knows that we needed it. But my point is, he's giving us the instructions on how to love him and how to love our neighbor and how to treat our neighbor and how to do right by our neighbor and do right by God. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But don't covet your neighbor's stuff, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, like, the Ten Commandments is what a lot of people run to be like the first, like the foundation of our faith. But I mean, like, you brought everything, like, even like what it was said there in Matthew 22, all the law and the prophets hang on this, where there's so much more beyond Exodus 20, but like even like Exodus 21 has so many more things that the Lord, but they all still fall under those two things, where it's just like if you're serving the Lord, where like he said, like the Lord says, if you love me, keep my commandments, and like those that know me, like keep my commandments, so on and so forth. That like just keeping his commandments in of itself is how you show you love him. Just doing what he says, right? Obedience is better than sacrifice. That is something that's said in 1 Samuel. And then even saying like love your neighbor, it was like love your neighbor as yourself. Where just don't, and that's what's is crazy about so like the law, or even you could say like the prophets too. Half the laws are just like at times it can feel like common sense or common decency, and that's really kind of the point where it's just like don't defraud this person, or they even have like specifically don't put a stumbling block before the blind, don't mislead the deaf, and so it's like well who does that? And it's like well exactly that's the point. But there are people who do that, and there are people who there are people who have done it, and there are people who will do it, and there are people who are currently who are doing it. And it's also the point where that is just immorally wrong, right?
Yeah.
Just morally wrong. To the point where it talks about in the New Testament with Paul, where he talks about the Gentiles. Where at that point, the Gentiles did not know the law of God. They weren't taught, like, the Word of God. They didn't know like, what the Lord had said, what the Lord commanded. Right? But he said even and he was comparing them to Israel that didn't obey. Where he said even the Gentile, who knowing not the law, like, does right, does what he knows to be right, and it being a law unto himself. Where basically, he doesn't know necessarily about the Sabbath, like here in Exodus 20, or even the bits maybe about making false gods or making things of like the sea and so on and so forth. Because even like going back to the point we made before, you see in like verses, where was it?
Talking about 4?
No, 23. Thou shalt not make with me gods of silver, neither shalt thou make you gods of gold. So when he's saying those other gods, that's what he's referring to again. Like there aren't literal gods. Like Zeus isn't a real being. It's the idea of Zeus that like you're worshiping and all that. Still, it's that same point that we said earlier. But even then, it's still like he may not know all of that, but he has the general morality. Yeah, I shouldn't kill that dude. Yeah, I shouldn't steal from him. It would be wrong. Like he has a sense of like every human, even if you don't believe in the Bible, or you haven't believed in the Bible before, or you don't believe in like religion. Period. There are plenty of people who are what they call atheists and agnostic and do not have any form of faith whatsoever, but they are good and great people because they have a sense of morality. And that's exactly what Paul's talking about there. They don't know God and they don't know what it takes to serve God, but they have a general sense of morality and they know I can't be awful to people. I need to treat people with love, which is again like the basis of like the whole like the commandments in the first place. When it comes to a lot of that stuff, we're just like yeah, it is common sense. Don't mistreat those around you. Don't put a stumbling block in front of the blind. Don't defraud your neighbor. Don't try to find ways or loopholes that you can scam people and get away with it. Like don't do anything. Don't cheat. Don't commit adultery. Like don't do those things. You're hurting other people. But even a lot of people don't need to be told that. And that again is like the point because it all just goes back to if you treat people with love, you wouldn't do those things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was good, man. To your point about the false gods stuff, I just think it's cool. Like, God's like, this verse 22, he was like, you have seen that I've talked with you from heaven. Like, don't go making gods out of gold and silver. The point is, like, you don't need that. I'm literally, like, I'm talking to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just thought that was pretty dope. Like, we have a guy, like, Zeus ain't never talked to nobody because it's not real. Buddha ain't never talked to nobody because it's not real. But we can say that God's talked to us. You know what I mean? Like, we have the true living God. So, but yeah. Mm-hmm. And another thing, like he was like, if you're gonna make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it on hewn stone. Hewn is cut stone. But he says, because if you put a tool upon it, you polluted it. I just thought that was cool. Like, it's that serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's something especially we'll see the further we get, especially in like things like Leviticus.
Yeah.
Where we start seeing like the building of like what would be the actual altars, or even the Ark of the Covenant that I talked about before, or the tabernacle, which is the place that they use to hold the Ark of the Covenant, like just a fancy tent. but also to the point that like the Lord was the Lord was very specific in general of like what He wants, right? Even think back to when He was telling them to keep the Sabbath, where He said, "Collect on the sixth day, collect double." Do, or even before that day, where He said, "Hey, do not leave up any of the food you have, any of the manna, till the next day." And they did, and then it bred worms and it stank. Right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, don't do that. Like, it's a very specific thing. Don't do that. Even though I told you to do that thing, I did tell you to collect extra and carry it over to the next day, very specifically on the sixth day. I don't do that any other day.
Right.
And the Lord's very specific about that. And when they disobeyed, like, it went poorly for them. All the food went bad, and like, imagine it stank to have to sit with. But all still to the point, the Lord is. Like, the Lord means what He says, and, like, it's never a thing of, like, oh, well, like, it's not that important to Him. Like, if the Lord says it, it is important to Him. Like He said, it's a breaker of the least of the commandments, the breaker of all of them, right? Like, it doesn't matter to God. It's like, if you are a breaker of the law, therefore, because you're breaking the law, it's sin. Sin is the transgression of the law. So you break any of the law, you've sinned. You are a sinner. And it doesn't matter which law you've broken, you've sinned.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things, too, that you always have to, like, remember. That to God, it really doesn't matter. And there is no excuse.
It reminds me of that, like, growing up, I used to hear all the time, you think God's going to kill me over a piece of bacon? Like, yes, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter how minute it seems to us as individuals.
Right.
It's of utmost importance to God, because it's what He said. Like, you got to think, we have a God that was willing to come down into man form, as what is it, Colossians tells you, humbles Himself.
Yeah.
Like, to come down into man form and die a death that He didn't deserve. Like, yeah, what I say is law. You know what I mean? Like, just do what I say. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But another thing before we move on, I like verse 6, because to that point, when Jesus came down and died, that was like almost like the confirmation. Like, yeah, like Jesus. But it was always meant to be that way. Like, Jesus was always gonna come down here and die for the sins of the people. But sometimes we think, it sounds to me like we think this idea of like grace and mercy started when Jesus died. And that like the formula to obtain that grace and mercy changed when Jesus came and died. But it's always been the same. Like verse 6, He says, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Like, you got to think about, we read Noah in the ark. Noah, God showed mercy upon Noah to help him and his whole family survive the flood because he did what thus says the Lord. We could think about like Joseph was taken care of because he did what thus says the Lord. Like, there's countless of examples in the Old Testament before Jesus came that they received mercy. David himself, a man who committed adultery and then committed murder, got given mercy because he loves the Lord and he keeps His commandments. And the formula for this mercy and grace hasn't changed. Like, it's the same criteria. God is, what does it say? I am God and I change not. Jesus, the same today, tomorrow, forever. Yesterday, today, and forever. Like, He doesn't change. It would be unfair to people like Noah and Moses and the people that actually earned, you know what I'm saying? For us today, like, we don't have to do anything. And that's kind of what I was saying in the last chapter about that. If, like, it's 50-50, God's going to do His part, we're going to do ours. If you don't want to think of it like it's 50-50, you 70-30, you can even say 99 God, 1% you. But you still have to do that 1%.
You have to do something.
Exactly. And it's not a guessing game. God tells us what we need to do. But yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for 20.
Make what else? How far are you trying to go to?
I think we'll call it 121. I think that just, yeah, because just going forward, it's just more of his commands all the way up until like, what's it, 25, 26, when we get to the camp.
Yeah. Alright. Well, chapter 21 and verse 1. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation he shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. And if he have betrothed her unto a son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into his hands, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die. And he that smiteth his father or his mother shall be put to death. He that stealeth the man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hands, he shall surely be put to death. And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And if men strive together, and one smiteth another with a stone, or with his fist, and he die not, but keepeth his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smiteth his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, and stripe for stripe. If a man smite the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in time past, and it hath been testified to his owner, and he hath not kept him in, but that he hath killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him, whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter. According to his judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And if one man's ox hurt another that he die, then they shall sell the live ox, and divide the money of it. And the dead ox also shall they divide. Or if it be known that the ox hath used to push in time past, and his owner have not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own. Yeah. this chapter. So like you said, it's more of really kind of his laws and his commandments and how to go by pretty much like day by day life almost. You know what I mean? I like, what you gotta say something? I like verses 28, 29, 30. Where it's basically talking about you have an animal, and he goes out and kills someone, right? The owner, like, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's your first offense. You're not gonna die. The ox has to die, blah blah blah. But if this has been known to you, and your ox does stuff like this, and you don't control him and put him up, take him away from people, and he kills somebody else, not only the ox has to die, but you gotta die. I just feel like that's kind of interesting and it's good. Like, handle your business. Like, we can't have people out here dying because you can't control your ox, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, and that's kind of how fair God is, almost. Like, I don't know. It's kind of cool, though.
I get, no, it's like you know better, you do better. Or even like, and that's what, I mean, when you really read into the law, that's what like is the really cool thing about it, is that the law of the Lord has like, well, I presume you're living in America. If you're not, great, good for you. But like, no, I mean, genuinely, like, that's America's crazy. Kind of bad right now. But to the point is that like I'm gonna be, when I say law, I'm gonna be referring to like American law. God's law in certain ways has a lot of resemblance for like American law. I'm just only familiar. I'm sorry, not familiar with UK or international law. But it's to the point that like it's like it's like knowledge, like prior knowledge of like an incident can add to like a crime or something of the sort of like manslaughter. Whereas like to the point, whereas the same way of like if we are in the United States were to have like a dog, right, that bites people all the time and like it bit someone. And then you're like trying to sue the person. They'll be like, "Oh well, it was a mistake. They didn't know." But if you could prove that they knew, like multiple times, that like, "Hey, this dog bites people," they were warned, they were told to like chain up the dog so they wouldn't bite people, so on and so forth, and they didn't do any of that, and then it still bit somebody. Well, then they would be ruled responsible.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because it's like, well, you knew this was an issue, but you did nothing about it. And it's like the same way where like, if you knew this ox was put, like, what did you think the end result was going to be eventually? Like, eventually, it's an ox. It's a giant cow. Like, a giant male cow that likes to fight. If it, like, pushes a person, eventually, the person it pushes, one of them is going to kill him. Somebody. So it's just like, well, you knew this was an issue and you did nothing to resolve it. So, like, you bear the responsibility. That's even sort of the same as like verses like 12 and like 13. Like, he that smiteth a man so that he die, he shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whether he shall flee. So it's like almost like a manslaughter kind of thing. Like, you kill a dude. Like, you fight with a dude and you kill him. Then, like, yeah, you go, like, here you get put to death, right? But if you, like he said, he puts it as God deliver him into his hand. So, like, whatever happens, like, you did try to kill the man. It was an accident. They even, later on in the Bible, this is an example of, like, if you're chopping down a tree and the axe head falls off and falls and like, hits a dude and it kills him. And that's like a good example. It's just directly, man, like, I didn't do anything to try to kill him. It was just a complete accident. Then they, like he says, you prepare a place for him. It's something that you see a lot later called refuge cities. Yeah. Where if you commit, because the thing is, like back in the day, they didn't have like a police force or anything like that, right? So you accidentally kill a dude, his friends are going to be mad and then they're going to kill you. So they had a place set up called refuge cities where you would run to and you'd be there and you'd be safe there, and they weren't allowed to go and like kill you there or do anything. Like you were protected there because I didn't do anything wrong. It was an act. Like, I didn't try to kill the man. I didn't do anything. He just died, like completely on accident. But even then, like all still to the point, like it is just like general laws. But I think a lot of it, I like to think of it as even with that whole like law explanation, it's still to the same thing as it's general good or general morality that like even mankind has created a law where this same thing is a principle because it just makes sense morally. If you didn't know to do anything wrong, you should be held to the same accountability as someone who did know it was wrong and did it. Like they're not the same thing. Like and we call it like intent in American law, but all still to the point that intent both does matter with the Lord and then also doesn't. Where intent gives you like mercy up to a certain point, like the Lord talks about, to whom much is given, much is required. So the Lord's going to hold you to the charge of what you know and so on and so forth. But that also never truly fully excuses your behavior with the Lord. The Lord still expects you to be better. Because the thing is, if you make a mistake, that's okay. But what you should learn from a mistake. And it's the same way as even Proverbs says, a righteous man falls 7 times, but get back up again. But the wicked, they fall into mischief, where it's all about getting back up again and trying to do right, rather than just being like, I'm not going to do anything, and I'm just going to continue in like whatever I'm doing. Because you're supposed to learn from whatever mistakes that you do make. But, yeah.
Hey, like, as we, like we just read in verse in chapter, 19? Where it says, if you obey my voice and keep my commandments, you'll become a peculiar priest, peculiar treasure, and you shall be a king and priest unto me, right? I bring that up because that's really like Israel's kind of job. It's like we was chosen, but we was chosen to be priests, and teach the whole world who God is and how to serve God so that they can attain their eternal life. My point is, we're getting into the building of Israel. Like, meaning, like before you can enter into this holy land, you got to learn how to be holy. And I say that to say, as we start reading all these laws, like this is the laws to perfection. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to build a perfect reigning country in his eyes, which is why, which is why I can read something like 24, 25, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Like it's starting. Like we're trying to build something perfect. You know what I'm saying? So that we can teach the rest of the world and things of that nature. Versus when you get to the New Testament, he was like, in the old it says eye for an eye and tooth for tooth, but now I say, turn the other cheek. You know what I mean? And then you had that story with the woman that committed adultery, and it was like, he who was without sin cast the first stone. Because we're way past the point of perfect. Like we've all like sinned, and we're like just like he said, he who was without sin cast the first stone. Like we can't do that now. And really they couldn't do it then, but the point is the blueprint had to be like this was the blueprint, you know what I'm saying? Of what it was supposed to look like. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. All this talk of, and like the further we go into it, the more it like reminds me, it brings me back to like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. We're all to the point where like he promised to Abraham, like, hey, through like Isaac my seed will be called, and you will be a father of many nations, and through your seeds all the earth will be blessed, and you'll have children as numerous as the stars, so forth. And like talking about a little bit back then, but Like, that was never really physical Israel. That was always spiritual Israel. The job of physical Israel was supposed to be as much as spiritual Israel as possible, right? Like, what do they call it? The Venn diagram. The Venn diagram was supposed to be as nearly as close to a circle as possible. Mm-hmm. But it was never truly talking about the physical Israel side. The prophecy was really always talking about the spiritual Israel side. Mm-hmm. Since I think we are finishing at 21, right? I wanted to look at like Romans 9 real quick, which talks about it talks about both the Abraham, the Isaac, and like the Moses a little bit, where even I think it touches on all the points we kind of talked about just a little bit. Alright, so, yeah, this is I'm going to just read, like, verses 3 and 4, and then I'm going to go down to, like, 7. Or, no, I'll read 6. I need 6. Alright, so this is Paul talking. Paul was an Israelite. He was from the tribe of Benjamin, which is why he says what he says here. For I wish, because he's talking to the Romans, that's why it's the book of Romans, right? For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh. So he's saying like my physical brethren, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of God, and the promises. That's all that we've seen. We'll see more and more as we read, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. But we see the promises. The promises were first given to Abraham, and then to Isaac, and then Jacob, and then passed down to the rest of Israel. That's why we've seen even the Lord promise that He'll bring them back, and He'll make them priests, as Xavier just mentioned. We see Him starting to give them the law. We've seen the covenant with Abraham. The Lord will make a covenant with Israel as well. We'll get later into Exodus. But like all these things that were first given to Israel. He's like, well, I wish that they would, again, at this point he's talking about my brethren after the flesh. So these are the physical Israelites he's talking about. They were physically, literally given all of these things. But it's like, I hope they receive the redemption the same way I have in Christ. Because again, that's not a perfect semicircle we're talking about. And that's even where we go to 6. Like pointing out directly. Not as though the word of God had taken none effect. For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. So not all physical Israel are part of spiritual Israel. And like even he explains it further, 7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. Because remember, even Jesus talked about you're children of Abraham if you follow after the faith of Abraham. So if you aren't having the same belief or faith in God that Abraham had, you're not a child of Abraham. Even though the Israelites were physically the seed of Abraham, they physically were his descendants, they weren't the children. Again, the same thing. They were physical Israel, but they weren't like the spiritual. Right? Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, they are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So, like the children of the promise made to Abraham are the seed, being the children of God, like the spiritual people, not the physical. Again, for this is the word of promise at this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. So he's just recounting what happened, like in the story with Sarah, where even like they say in another place, Hagar had a physical son. Like Hagar had a son for Abraham, Ishmael, who's like the physical, and Isaac was the seed of promise. So you do have like the physical side, but more importantly, there's the spiritual, because like he said, Isaac your seed is called. But even then we go to Moses, right? 15. For he saith to Moses, I'll have mercy on whom I'll have mercy, and I'll have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. So it's even going back to what he said before. God at the end of the day is the one who shows mercy. And this is really come from him answering question 14 about the children of Israel and like how it's been given. And essentially the question is like, well, what shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. Where God, the answer to the question is that, well, God can do anything he wants. The Lord can have mercy on whomever He will. So the same way the physical children of Israel can be redeemed, anybody can be redeemed and be a part of the children of Abraham, the seed of which is the promise of like Isaac, right? So like 22. What if God, willing to show His wrath and to make His power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fit to destruction, and that He might make known the riches of His glory on the vessels of mercy, which He had afore prepared unto glory? Because remember, even God says, like there's not one of His He will lose, where God already knows who are His, just from like throughout the world. That's even like go to like Revelation 22, and it's like John was able to see like innumerable multitude from all nations of the earth, because the Lord already knows the people who are His and those who will choose to obey Him, because God just is like able to see the future, like exist and see the future, or the same way He's able to see everything else. 24. Even us, whom He hath called, not the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. So we're all part of, because we're talking again about the spirituality, the spiritual Israel, because this is the actual seed in which He's talking about, the actual seed in which we are called. As He saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. Because again, Israel was the physical Israelites, like we're reading about Exodus, they were His people. But He's saying, I will call the people who weren't called my people, my people. Because like everyone who is spiritual Israel is the Lord's people, and they are His beloved. Because sometimes we'll refer to Israel as His wife, which is even what He's referring to here. It shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, You're not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. And that's the end of like the point I want to make, where it's all still to the same thing. All called children of Abraham, children of Isaac, children of Jacob, who is Israel. All children of Israel, but like spiritually. But all still to the point that like that same thing that like He's saying to them extends that far out. That like all the things that like we've read, that it goes for everyone. Because really all are meant to fall under this covenant. It's just that it started with one, but then it moves to the other. As even it talks about in another place with Paul, about like the natural branches, how they were grafted, and like how they were cut off of the tree because of sin, talking about Israel, and then how like the Gentiles that Paul refers to, how they were grafted in because of their faith and their obedience. But really, just anyone could be a part of this. Man, I just want to really look at that Romans 9.
Let's go to 1 Corinthians 11 real quick. And really, because this is really talking about something completely different, but it kind of helps to put it into perspective. I'm going to read 2 and 3. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Point being that, like I said, it's completely different, but it's protocol, right? You got God the Father, you got Christ, you got man, you have woman, right? And the same thing kind of works in terms of the spreading of the gospel. It works the same way. Like you could think of Israel as the man. You know what I mean? It's not like the man is better than a woman. It's just this is kind of the protocol and this is the order that God put. You know, God says let all things be done decently and in order. Like everything has to be in order. Everybody couldn't be the priest. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we already read why Israel. It's because Israel was weak. Israel was nothing. Israel was pretty much worthless compared to all the other people. So God took Israel, cleaned them up, made them something, and gave them a chance to be the priest, to give it out to the whole world. So, like I said, I know it's different, but it's following that same process or that same order. Like I said, not everybody could be the priest, but He took a people to be the priest, to do a job. Like, it doesn't make Israel better than anybody. Yeah. You'll never hear me make that claim. You'll never hear us make that claim because it's just not a fact.
Or the Bible.
Right, or you'll never hear the Bible make that claim. It's just simply we were chosen to do a job, just like the man was chosen to be the leader of the house. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make like I just said, it doesn't make the woman any less special than the man. It doesn't make the man more special than the woman. It's just that's the order. That's just how it goes. With Israel, he gave us the law to give to all the people. That's just how it goes. So, but that's like he was saying, not just because you're Israel doesn't make you nothing. Like, what's really important is that you follow after Abraham's footsteps.
Yeah.
And you keep the faith that Abraham had in God.
The spiritual is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, today what we got through Exodus 14 through 21. Yeah. We got through a fair bit today, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, we read all about just Israel's murmuring. We'll continue to see that. We got to see the beginning bits of Moses being given the law of the Lord, and we'll definitely get to see a lot more of that too, especially as we move further throughout Exodus and Leviticus. But now to the point. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you as always. I just remember to say, show yourself approved of God. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. We talked about like charity's bond of perfectness. Love your neighbor. Love the Lord. Seek Him diligently. You know, like even just the just man fall 7 times. Like, hey, you're gonna make mistakes in life and with the Lord, just in general. But like, you have to keep up. You have to keep trying, and you have to remain diligent within your faith, right? In your prayer and your fasting, you have to continually be diligent, right? Yeah. Well, that. Yeah, as always, again, thank you for joining us. If you have questions, as like next time or in the future, like I'll make like a post that people can post their questions to, and then also tomorrow, next time we stream, post questions, and we'll get to them at the end. Doesn't really have any today. Yeah. But I guess everyone have a good night. Take care.
Peace in Jesus' name.